Good afternoon, everyone. It's Jalen here with the J Group Live Real Estate Show. I am so honored and proud to present to you today the lovely Judy Hoberman. Let me give you guys just a quick, brief introduction here. So Judy Hoberman is the president of Judy Hoberman and Associates, which focuses on empowering professional women. Judy is an award-winning international speaker, including TEDx, best-selling author, trainer, and a leading authority on women in leadership. Her coaching and training has been described as transformational. I love it. She's the author of 4 books, including Selling in a Skirt and Walking on the Glass Floor. She's also trademarked Women Want to be Treated Equally, Not Identically. It's not only a phrase, it's actually a philosophy. I mean, holy moly, she's got so many accolades. I couldn't possibly cover them all in this short time we have together. So Judy, welcome. Thank you so much for being on my show. Tell us, how did you get started? Why do you do what you do?
Oh my goodness, that's such a loaded question, Jalen. A wise woman once told me that if you go back to when you're 5 or 6 years old, something happened then which makes you do what you do today. And when I thought about that, I thought, that's not possible. But it is, because when I was 5 or 6, we lived in New York and my brothers were building a hot rod. And I was watching and I kept looking because I wanted to be part of everything. That's just who I am. And my dad would take me by the ponytail and lift me up and go, girls don't do that. Girls don't do that. And guess what I do now, decades later? Yeah, girls do that.
Yes, yes, they do. That's awesome. I love it. So I know that you've written a lot of books, obviously, and one of them that I mentioned earlier was Walking on the Glass Floor. Can you tell us what that's all about?
Yeah, I had a radio show for 6 years and a podcast for another 2. And the beginning of my radio shows and my podcast, I would do a monologue. And when I went back to look at what I was talking about before my guests would come on, it was mostly leadership. And so when I divided everything, it turned out to be 7 different qualities of leadership. And so that became my book, because truly there's so many different qualities that women have. Men have them too, but women actually use them. And some people say, well, those aren't really leadership, like generosity or courage or, passion. Are those really leadership qualities? Yeah, they are. They really are. So that's really what the book is about. And it really gives you exercises to do if you do them, and answering questions. And when you do it, it actually brings you into a leadership mindset.
Got it. So is the glass floor in relation to like the different levels of leadership?
It's actually when you crash through the glass ceiling, where do you land? You land on the glass floor. And we don't want people just to, tiptoe there. We want you to jump on it and continue on it. We don't want you to say, it's not for me. You've already done all the work getting through it. Now let's make you really shine. So
awesome. Makes sense. I love it so much. I know you also write a newsletter. I believe it's posted once a week, correct me if I'm wrong, entitled X Formula for Executive Women. I love the title. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that's all about?
Okay. Well, first of all, you know what the X is. The X is the female chromosome. Yeah. So it's the X. It happened because we decided to do a LinkedIn newsletter. We never advertised it. We just did it. And all of a sudden we had thousands of people that subscribed to it, not just followed it, but subscribed to it. And so that's what it was. And what we do is every week, on Wednesday, we put it out there and we tease the beginning of a little article, because on Friday we come back and we give you the full article. Because sometimes people don't have enough time or attention span to really go through everything. So we give you just a little bit of it, make you think about it, and then Friday we give you the whole piece.
I love it. So, speaking of this particular newsletter for this week, we were talking about multitasking earlier. I know that so many of us have a misconception about multitasking. What is the biggest or most common misconception that you've heard about, women who think that they need to multitask?
That it works. And it doesn't work because what we're doing is we're doing lots of little things, but we never finish anything completely because okay, I'm going to do this and this and this. I'm going to carry this and this to this room at the same time that I'm going to do this, and I'm going to be on the phone and I'm going to cook dinner. So what happens? Nothing really gets done. So that's the misconception. And I do believe that when you really think about it, if you just picked one thing to do and did it completely, you get to check it off your list. It's not like, okay, I'm 90% done, but I'll come back to it, because we don't finish it.
Right. I'm certainly guilty of doing that myself. And it's more so much like shiny object syndrome. I'm like, ooh, I want to do that. I want to do that. But like I literally want to do everything. I end up doing absolutely nothing. So, but I'm doing this podcast now. That's something I've been consistent about. So I'm proud of myself. Pat myself on the back.
Good. And you're doing it and you complete it every single week.
Yes, this is true. This is true. Thank you. I appreciate that. So I want to know, I'm sure other people in our audience will want to know, how did you come up with the phrase and the philosophy, women want to be treated equally, not identically? It's so good.
Yeah, it's short and sweet and to the point, and it says a lot. It actually speaks volumes. Here's what I know. Personal experience. I know that at one point, mostly in the 70s, women were trying to mimic men's behavior because that's the way you would get an advance in your promotion, in your career. We would dress like men, we'd speak like men, we talk like men, but that is not who we are. And it was very inauthentic. When women decided that really what they wanted was the same opportunity, that's where that came from. If you just give us the opportunity, maybe you have to open a door, make an introduction or whatever. We don't want to be men. It's confusing to everyone, including ourselves. But if you give us the opportunity, that's what we want. So we don't want to be treated equally. I mean, when we want to be treated equally, we don't want to be treated identically. We don't want to be men, and they don't want us to be men. So that's really all it is just give us the same opportunity and then let us go.
That makes so much sense. So basically allowing ourselves to be authentic as women, but having the same opportunities that are given to the men. So that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, because a lot of times men don't even know that we're looking for that advancement because we don't generally raise our hand and say, okay, that would be me. So if you knew that there was a position coming up, why wouldn't somebody say, Jaylene would be great for this. She has the skills, the qualities, she'd be awesome. That's what it is. Just say, make that introduction and say, I think I choose you. Because a lot of times what happens is when somebody else gets the position, you're saying, well, what about me? And the person that gave that position away said, well, I didn't even know you were looking.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. Sometimes you just have to raise your hand and be like, me, hello.
Pick me.
See me over here.
Yeah.
So talking about greatness, I know you're an amazing coach and a wonderful speaker. What would you say is the number one thing holding most of us women back from achieving greatness?
Many times it's ourselves. We're just not ready for it, or we're not enough. That enough word comes into the play all the time. I'm not strong enough. I'm not smart enough. I haven't been here enough, whatever it is. That's part of it. The other part is, which is always interesting to me, is that and they've done studies on this. If women don't feel like they're 100% qualified, they're not going to do it. They're not going to volunteer. They're not going to apply. They're going to hold themselves back because why be rejected and why waste people's time? Men, on the other hand, if they're 60% qualified, they're in. Okay, I can do this. And nothing against men, because I am an equal opportunity lover. I love everybody. I do. Men and women. I'm married to a man, and I have no problem with men. What I'm saying is, statistically speaking, that's what happens. And why is that? Why do we hold ourselves back? Maybe it's when we were growing up and your mom said to you, if you have to tell everybody how great you are, you're really not, because that's what my mother said. And that just doesn't make sense to me, because somebody has to toot their own horn. So stop stopping yourself. Give yourself some credit and just say, what's the worst that can happen? But more importantly, what's the best that can happen?
Yeah, that is so powerful. So, what would you say to someone who says that to you here that like I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm just not enough in general. Like what would you say to that person, that woman?
Well, the first thing I would ask is, what does that look like? And then I just listen, because when you ask a question that is not a yes or no question, and you give them the space to be heard, that's half the battle. So if I say, well, tell me what that looks like, and they said, well, I don't have enough schooling, or I don't have this. I'm like, okay, so if you had enough schooling, would you apply for it? Well, I don't know, because, okay, well, what is it? And I keep, trying to ask more questions. I have been dubbed the question queen, but that's what I do, is I will ask questions because I really am interested. I really want to know, what is stopping you? Like, why are you saying this? But we've also it's been ingrained. When we were little, we weren't tall enough for a ride, and we weren't old enough to do this. Well, that was harmless, but when you think about it, you remember that. Oh, I couldn't ride it because I was too short, or this because I wasn't old enough, or this, and so you hold it in your brain. I tell people you have to rewind those tapes. So how do you rewind them? You talk to somebody and you let people understand, let people in, because that's where the magic happens, is when you ask the questions and all of a sudden they're like, I am ready for that. I am good enough for that. And the truth of the matter is, you're way more than enough. That's just that enough word has to be eliminated from our brain. Just evict it. Just get rid of it.
Yeah, that is so good. I know personally, I'm not trying to like deep dive into like a coaching session here, but I know like as a young child, I was always told, okay, you need to excuse me, go to school. You need to get a job. You need to get married, find somebody rich to take care of you, and things like that. And I just remember hearing all of these little voices in my head. It's like, oh, your brother's so smart. He's so much smarter than you are. And so, after a period of time, you have all of these comments in your head and you have these self-limiting beliefs, and you get to a point where you truly don't think that you are good enough, that you can, achieve success and greatness. And it wasn't until after my third failed marriage and I ended up working as a barista at Starbucks, I had an encounter with somebody that changed my life and actually helped me see that I did have the possibilities within myself to achieve that greatness. So here I am, many, many years later, basically having conquered a lot of those limiting self beliefs. So yeah, that's so powerful what you said, just getting women to understand that they are enough. I could talk about this all day long.
Because it's a very big topic. You have to let me go back to my father for a minute. My father told me when I graduated high school that I was never going to amount to anything, because all I was pretty. That's what he told me. So now, when you are in the business world and that's all you remember. So when I started my company, I remember, like, every time I'd get on stage, I'd hear his voice. What are you doing here? You're never going to amount to anything. You're not good enough to do anything. And so I had to do that for myself, and so when I talk to my clients about that, it's not like I don't understand, because I truly understand. And people will say, well, at least your dad thought you were pretty. Like, what does that mean, though? That doesn't, like, I wasn't smart. I'm not, good enough to do anything. And so when somebody actually says that to you and you remember that, so I have to rewind my tapes. Now I don't cry about it. I used to cry about it. And in my TED Talk, it was the first time I ever told that story out loud during a TED Talk. I mean, seriously. But it was at that point in my life that I thought, if I don't get it out now, never going to get it out. I'm never going to be able to move forward 100%, because it's like here. So it is what it is. That's what people tell me. Well, it is what it is. What's the big deal? It is a big deal. And so, by not feeling you're good enough or any enough, you have to really unfold that. What does that actually mean? I know I'm smart. I know I'm smart. My husband once told a group of people I was the smartest person that he's ever met. And I shrunk, because I remember thinking, my father said I'm never going to be smart enough to do anything, and I kept thinking to myself, please don't say it again, don't say it again, because maybe they didn't hear you. And then he said it again, and I really had to, like, gulp, because I thought, if anybody asks me a question, I won't even be able to speak, because that's how bad it was.
Oh my goodness.
Right. And so, now, I mean, at least I can talk about it because, but it is a lesson and it's a blessing because if it didn't happen to me, there's a lot of things that I wouldn't have been able to do because I didn't believe in myself. But it did happen to me. And so I just maneuvered around it.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you so much for getting up there on the TED Talk and sharing your story and being vulnerable. Like what you've done is you've helped so many other women to tell their story and realize that they're okay.
Yeah, they're more than okay. That's the thing. They're more than okay. There's another way you could also do that. If you sat yourself down and you actually described yourself in 3 words and just wrote it down, like how would you describe yourself? And then ask a few people that you trust. But it has to be people that know you. It can't just be me, I just met you and here's the words. It has to be 3 people, people that you trust, and ask them for the 3 words, and then look at the list and see, are they in alignment? Because perception is reality. And if somebody said to you, oh, you're not smart and you're not this or you're not that, and you're writing down, I am intelligent and I'm funny and all of this, and it's not in alignment, it's what you're giving off. And
Yes.
yeah, so it's a great exercise, and we do it all the time. I do it, I still do it.
I think that we should give everyone a homework assignment right now. And whether you're watching on LinkedIn or YouTube
Yeah,
or Facebook, put the comments below as to, what Judy just mentioned. We would love to hear from you as to what you think about yourself. What are the 3 top words that you would use to describe yourself?
yeah.
That's very interesting. I can't wait to read all of the comments on that. So, Judy, can you share one of your favorite success stories from one of the clients that you've worked with?
Yeah, I can. So one of my clients was the only female in her position, and she just needed a little bit of love and a little bit of accountability and a big push. And when I first met her, she was very quiet, and she wouldn't tell anybody that she worked with a coach. She just couldn't because it was all men, and these were very powerful men that she worked with. And by the time we finished working together, which I thought was only going to be, like a little less than a year, it was close to 5 years that we worked together. Because every time I said, "You're good," she's like, "No, no, 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 no." But she went through her, the rest of her career as a really um, big thought leader. She would volunteer. When she would speak, people would listen and they would hold on to every one of her words. And then she retired and went on to something else. And I just look back at her and I remember when I first met her and when we stopped working together. And it was just, I mean, it was incredible. It was truly incredible. It was like a different person, same heart, same values, but just a different person.
Isn't that just wonderful? It's just so amazing to see the impact that you can have on someone else's life and see the transformation
Yeah.
that they've had, from working with you. That's truly game changer. So, Judy, I'm gonna put a little banner scroll. Like, how does somebody get in contact with you? What's the best way? How does somebody hire you? Can you kind of talk about that process a little bit here? Let's see if I can find
Yeah.
the banner. I
Yeah.
had it ready to go here.
I'm like all over social media. You can see what's going across the bottom. You can go onto my website. You can call me. You can also go onto LinkedIn and just look for me. And then when we're connected, you'll see all the things that I'm doing and all the different ways that you can connect with me. And you can be part of the newsletter that I talked about. It doesn't cost you anything. It's just you subscribe to it and you get it every week. Um, but I do coaching, I do training, I do speaking, and all I do is, I want to empower professional women, and I want to encourage men to advocate for women and to champion women, because we all need to work together. Nobody should be doing this by themselves. I'm sorry, nobody should. I don't care what business you're in. I don't care if you work from home. It doesn't matter. We don't need to do things by ourselves. There's always somebody out there that's ready to work with you or listen to you, because the truth of the matter is we just want to be heard, and we want to do something that's valuable and make a difference. So here I am.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, Judy, I'm sure that there are going to be a lot of people on here that are interested in getting your books, some of your books. How does one go about finding your books?
Okay, so you can do one of two things. You can go on Amazon and buy the books, or you can buy them from my website, and then I actually sign them. I never see who buys from Amazon. I can't tell you who buys. I know lots of people do, but I can't tell you because they don't give us that list. So if you want me to sign it, yeah, just go to my website, and my books are on the website.
Well, I'm personally going to go onto your website because I want an autographed
Yeah.
copy of all of your books. I'll be doing that after this podcast here. Um, do you happen to know off the top of your head what your next speaking events are? Like where can we see you talk next?
A lot of them are private. They're coming through a company, so you really can't. I mean, if you really want to see me speak, just go to my TED Talk. I mean, you'll see me. That you will really see me.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you want to see what I do and how I am and whatever, and you will already know the story, and you will probably not guess how nervous I was, but I was very nervous, very
Oh,
nervous. And I just remember apologizing to my family the week before because I was very snarky also. I was so nervous because I wasn't sure if I'd get through it. But that would be a great way to really get to know me. And it's 6 years ago that I did it, and it was just the end of October, my 6-year anniversary doing it.
oh, that's wonderful. I'm definitely going to go check it out and see if I can see those nerves, and knowing what you've just told everybody, I'm like, I'll see if I can spot it. No, but I am getting ready to go up on stage myself. I'm going on an audition in Atlanta this weekend for the Great American Speak Off. It's going to be a
Ooh,
pilot put on by Grant Cardone. I'm not sure if you've heard of it or
yeah,
not.
yeah, I have.
So I'm going to go attempt to tell my story and hopefully win a golden ticket so I can go to the semifinals in Miami. So, and I'm like, I'm going to be equally petrified and nervous on the inside, but hopefully it won't show on the outside. So wish me luck.
Well, I wish you luck, and I'm going to tell you what my friend who does neuro linguistic programming, what she told me, and that it actually worked. So this is something that I would tell you to do. She asked me. She said, what's the first thing that I heard when I listened to a TED Talk?" And I said, "The applause." And she said, "And what color calms you down?" And I said, "Purple." She said, "What are you nervous about?" I said, "I'm really nervous that I'm going to forget something and not be able to tie it all together," and so on and so forth. So she said, "Okay, so the very first thing you do before you get on the stage is that you take a deep breath and you hear the applause." Now, of course, yours doesn't have the applause, but this is how I had to do it. So I heard the applause. And then you have to picture purple. Everything is surrounded in purple, so you're calm. And just know you're not going to forget anything. And then just go and do it. And so I did that. And oh, no. And then she said, are you going to be wearing anything that's important to you? And I said, yes, my wedding ring. So she goes, all right. So after you see the purple, after you hear the applause, after you know you're not going to miss anything, turn your wedding ring. So I get on stage. Right before I get on stage, I do the whole thing, and I'm on like the first 5 minutes, and I feel the tears coming up. And so I turned my ring again, and at that moment, my husband took a picture of me. You can't see anybody because it's completely black. He took a picture of me turning my ring, and that was the moment where I swallowed everything, and I knew that I had released the story at that moment. And I didn't know he took the picture till we got in the car. And he said, "I took some pictures of you," and he shows me the picture, and I burst into tears. I said, "Oh my God," that was when I actually thought I was going to walk off the stage because I didn't think I was going to get through it, but I turned my ring again. So it might be a good idea for you just to, picture yourself, have the color, know you're going to be awesome, turn your ring or something or the key around your neck, something that you're going to be wearing that's important to you, and just breathe.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for that. I will definitely use those techniques when I'm up there.
You'll be great. You'll be
Nervous
awesome.
is HELL and trying to give my talk. But yeah, thank you so much, Judy. Would you like to leave us with any last words of wisdom or advice? Anything else you want to talk about real quick before we wrap this up?
I would just say, one of the things that I hear all the time is that we're afraid to take that next step. And, it's almost like visualizing things. I always say, act as if you've already done it, as if it's here. And instead of saying, I will, I'm going to try, or I hope, you say, I am doing this. I am seeing this. I can feel myself doing that. When I was selling insurance, when I would walk into somebody's home, I pictured them as if they were already my client, and the conversation was much different. And even though some of them I could not insure at all, and I knew that as I walked in the door, I still acted as if, and I still did my whole presentation, and they still, thanked me, and they gave me referrals because I shared my time with them. So act as if it's happening instead of in the future. Be in the present.
Act as if. That's so good. That reminds me, my husband would tell me the story all the time about when he was a financial services advisor. And before he would go in on a call, he would visualize himself walking out and like shaking their hand, saying, "Congratulations,"
Yep.
already visualizing and acting as if they were already a client. So that is such good advice. Thank you
Yep.
so much,
You're
Judy.
so welcome. You're so welcome. And
Well,
thank you.
thank you. It was such a pleasure having you, and I am just so amazed by you and everything that you've done. And I'll definitely go online to your website, order your book so I can get that autographed copy. And again, for the assignment that we talked about earlier, can you do a quick recap of that again?
Okay, so here's the deal. You're going to write down 3 words that describe you. Whatever 3 words they are, it doesn't have to be anything elaborate, just 3 words. 3 words, not 5, not 2, 3 words. And then put that list aside. Then ask a couple of people that you are close with, that you trust. It could be your spouse or your partner. It could be your best friend. It could be anybody that knows you well. And ask them to describe you in 3 words. 3 words. Write it down. And then take the 2 lists and look at them and see if they're in alignment. If both of them say you're intelligent, if both of them say you're a great listener, it doesn't have to be in the same order. But if that's, then you're in alignment. But if one is, so diametrically opposed to what you have, perception is reality. And you have to figure out like how it's happening. Do I have time for one more story?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I'll tell you what happened to me when I first started in my company and I started speaking. No one, and I mean not one person, would talk to me until I came off stage. And then it's being, oh my God, I love you, you're so amazing, you changed my life, blah, blah, blah. Nobody talked to me beforehand. So after it happened like 3 or 4 times, I randomly asked people, can you describe me in 3 words when you first meet me? And every single person said the same 3 words in different orders. One was, you're intimidating, one was, you're unapproachable, and one was, you're out of our league. Now, what do you think a professional woman would do with that? You go to your car and you start to cry, because that's not me. That is totally not me. So, and I did this before I was speaking. So then I'd get on stage and I'd think of what people were saying, whatever. And then they come up, oh my God, you're awesome, awesome. So I called my coach and I told her what happened. And she said, you do remember you're an introvert, right? I'm like, yeah, I know that. And she said, when you come into a room and you don't know anyone, you're not open and you're not inviting. You like put a wall up around you. So of course they're going to say that. Perception's reality.
Wow.
So I wore a pair of really cool boots. And if you look at any of my pictures, you'll know I have like really cool boots. And one woman came up to me that next day and she said, I love your boots. And I actually had to think to myself, did I just speak because someone's talking to me? And I asked another person, then I asked another person. I mean, people came up to me and they all said the same thing, that I love your boots. I love your boots. Next time, same thing happened. Third time it happened, I thought, I'm never changing my boots again, because if this is what it is, and that was the icebreaker. It became part of my brand were boots, because it helped me get to relate to people because they would talk to me. But I also learned one lesson, that when you go networking and you don't know anyone, go early, because then people come to you and you don't have to be that person, because a lot of us are introverts. I'm not sure if you're an introvert, but I am definitely like beyond introverted.
That's interesting you say that. Perception is reality. I know that most people that I talk to, they assume that I'm very much an extrovert because I'm, pretty prevalent on social media and stuff. And I do love to network, but I think naturally I'm actually an introvert as well. Sometimes I just want to go into my little hole and be by myself and not talk to anybody. And I do like the icebreaker for me is my hair. My hair is typically a little bit longer and more spiky, but yeah, regarding your icebreaker, those boots, I could definitely am going to go check out those boots and see what you're talking about. I'm sure they're really awesome.
Yeah, my TED Talk has really good boots too.
Yeah, I'll definitely look it up. Thank you so much for that last tip and golden nugget. That is so good. Perception is reality. I love it. I'm excited to go do my homework, and then when I go do my audition, I'm going to ask people, hey, what would what would the 3 words be that you would use to describe me? So that's going to be like a really fascinating homework assignment to do for sure.
Yeah. Well, and also thank your husband for introducing us.
Yes, I will. Thanks, babe. Love you. He's probably watching right now. All right. Thank you so much, Judy. Have a wonderful evening.
You too.
Talk to you all soon. Take care.